Hi everyone, welcome to this video, Foundation 1.3, Daily Fluctuations. So the checklist for today is that I'm going to give an example of a transit. Then two, we're going to look at the daily fluctuations, astrolog settings. Then three, we're going to look at the middle days or the middle day between two aspects. So you might have an aspect on Wednesday, you might have an aspect on, let's say, a Monday. Which one is the middle day between these two aspects? It's Tuesday, right? So we're going to be looking at those particular days uh, between two aspect days. So it might be Monday that an aspect was made, and then on Wednesday there was no Monday an aspect would have been made, and then let's say Tuesday there was no aspect, and then Wednesday there was an aspect. So the date in between when the previous aspect was made on Monday and the current aspect on or the next occurring aspect which was on Wednesday, that day in between the two, which is Tuesday, the midday, right? We're going to look at how to tell as well whether it's going to be a buy or it's a sell based on the aspects. So we're going to head into the video by first of all noting the transits that we had for gold this year. So if the transit videos and if the previous videos did make sense to you, I'm sure you should have now uh, listed all the aspects that are likely going to be happening this year, right, in gold, or which have happened this year in gold. So I had January 8th and all that stuff, February 6th, February 16th, and March 18th, and all that. So I'm going to the current dates. So the current ones, the current ones, there was one on the 13th of October. There was one on the 2nd October, right? So, and then we've got the rest of the time it's blank. There's no transit since after on October 14th to probably up to the end of October and November, right? There's no transit. So on these days when there's no transit, how should we tell if the market is going to, on each particular day, it's going to buy or sell? So this is what the video is all about, daily fluctuations. So whenever there's no transit, how do we tell if the market will buy or will sell on that particular day when there is no transit? So I'm going to start first with the example of this transit on October 13th, 2022 at 12:59, right? So I'm going to go to my astrolog. This is the first checklist that we have, which is just going over one more example of transit. So we've got October 13th at 12:50, 12:54, yeah, 12:54. So 12:54, I'll look up my location again. So New York, yes, then apply, and then we can say okay, right? So looking at the list here, we should be able to tell if there was a transit. So yeah, Mercury here, considering that probably you have the radix and progressed positions of the general significators, the sun, moon, house 1, house 10, house 2, house 10, and then both for the radix and the progressed, you should note that the progressed moon for this year for God was on Libra 3 degrees 37, actually 37 minutes. So I'll try to push it a bit to by minutes. So another minute, yeah, and right there we are. So Mercury has transited the progressed position of the moon, which is Libra, 3 degrees 37 minutes. So what we're going to do is I'm going to head to chart, and then I'll say aspect list, right? So take note that October 13th was a Thursday, so the market was open. The gold market was open for trading, so it's going to be a good. It's a good example actually. We can go ahead with it. So Mercury is the planet that has done the transit uh, on the progressed position of the moon. So what we're going to look for is negative aspects that that Mercury has made. So we've got one here, which is moon, the trine Mercury, an orbit of negative 2 degrees. Then we have right here Mercury opposite Jupiter at negative 2 degrees. We have another one which is Mercury square ascendant negative 3 degrees. We've got okay, Mercury semi square 135, actually 135 Saturn, which is positive. It's almost 0 degrees 0 minutes, but we're going to leave it still. It's positive. Same with this one, to just some minutes to being exact, so we'll leave it. Yeah, so we have only these three. So what I want to do is I want to eliminate, since we have Mercury with another planet, both Jupiter and the moon, so we're going to cancel out this one. We're not going to consider the Mercury square versus ascendant. So between these two, we note that the Mercury opposite or 180 degrees Jupiter is the one that has got the least negative orbit. So it has got negative orbit of 2 degrees 6 minutes. This one has got 2 degrees 28 minutes. So this one is more. So we're not going to consider this one, and what will cause the market to sell, or to sell in this case, what's going to cause the movement in the market was going to be Mercury opposite Jupiter. A very bad aspect indeed. Opposite, and of course it's affecting the planet that causes is a planet that is generally supposed to be good. So Mercury opposite Jupiter with a negative 2 degrees 6 minutes is the one that's going to cause the sell or the movement in the market, and opposite or 180 degrees is bad. So bad, or what this means is sell. So we're going to have sells. So we're going to have sales in the market, right? And therefore I'm going to go to October 13th. So the rest of the day we should, or the day on that day, we should see a sell. We should see a sell. So October 13th this year, which was just a couple of days ago, about 2 weeks ago, not really 2 weeks ago, about about 2 weeks or a week ago. So note that this was October. Okay, so October 13th. So this is October 13th. So this is October 13th. So we really did see a very good sell down. It was a really very good sell. Quite right, it almost closed towards the open. However, there was a very good sell. I'm guessing this should have been approximately, yeah, was a sell. There was a sell that happened on October 13th. So now, having shown this example, we can move on to when the transit, when there's no transit, right? So we have shown an example of a transit, which was October 13th, 2022, right? October 2022 at 12:54. approximately 55. Right, 55, and we are looking at Mercury transit, moon's progressed position, 3 degrees Libra, 37 minutes, right? So, and then the aspect, Mercury aspect, Mercury opposite aspect, aspect to the moon was the aspect that we did see, and this was going to cause a cell. So we did see a cell. When Mercury transited the progressed position of the moon, which was Libra, 3 degrees 37 minutes, and of course Mercury did have an aspect, a negative aspect for that matter, of opposite, which was opposite rather to the moon, and yeah, we did see a cell. So now, what happens when these other days when don't cell? Remember that from our transit, there's no more transit since that day to December, right? So we've got another whole month without a transit, and we've got the rest of October without the transit. So what happens in those particular days? So what we're going to do is, the rule is, you have to go to, you have to consider rather the prime signifactor for gold chart this year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just recalculate rather the gold chart and its progress position. So remember that the gold was introduced in December 31st. The year was 1974. Of course, noon, and in New York City rather, right? So once we do that, okay, let me click the V and then we take it to, yeah, and then I'll set the chart info for 2, which is currently this year. Of course, I'm going to progress it to December, yes, 31st, of course noon, and of course the place being New York as well. So once I do this, I'll put progress to NATO. So of course remember that what we said was that the sun did progress to Aquarius 28 degrees 24 minutes, right? Aquarius being ruled by Saturn. Remember each house is ruled by a planet. So the house of Aquarius, what we said was that the house of Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, as well as the house of Capricorn. So the house of Capricorn and the house of Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. So the fact that the sun is the one that gives power to a planet to rule over any instrument within a particular period of time. So since the sun has progressed to this point, to this house this year, we should see Saturn working or influencing the gold market either on a buy or a sell this particular year. So what we'll note that in our daily fluctuations, the key determinant of the movement when there is no transit, that is Saturn. So what I want to do is I'm going to remove this to say no relationship, and then what I'm going to do is I'll set chart for now, right? So the chart has come back to this particular day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the chart. I'll take it to October 14th. That was after the transit. October 14th at midnight. Of course, the same day, the same city will apply. then we'll say okay, right? So what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to go to the settings. I'm going to go to the settings and then aspect settings. What I want are the aspects that the prime sitting factor, in this case for the God chart, Saturn is going to be making every day. Every day. So I need the exact aspects. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to remove the orbits to give them 0, right? 0. 0 orbit simply means that the aspect is exact, right? So I'll put 0. And this is the only time you're going to change the settings. But you don't really have to save them. So once we do that, I'll simply say okay, right? Right? Once you say okay, you go back to the you go back to the aspect list. So you just click the V and then we'll move from here. So have you seen that if you've taken note, the only two aspects that are almost exact, mostly there'll be 0 degrees and probably just some minutes. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to animate. I'll jump by a day, right? I'll be jumping by a day. So jump rate will be a day, and then we'll be checking. No, jump rate, let's put jump rate to an hour actually. An hour. So we're going to be checking for certain aspects. So I'm going to keep moving it forward. So there's no aspect here. Certain aspect. So I'll stop when there's certain aspect. Okay. There's one here, which is a trine. Okay. So there's a certain aspect, which is the moon trine Saturn, right? On October 14th, which is Friday, right? Just after the transit. Remember the transit happened on October 13th. So the following day we didn't have a transit. So what we're going to do is that we're going to check for aspects that the prime sitting factor, which is Saturn in this case, made. So we note that it did make a trine aspect. So it simply means that okay. Now since Saturn takes a bit of time, so we're going to continue moving it and see if the rest of the day there's no aspect that Saturn makes. So okay, okay, okay. So October 14th goes with only one aspect which Saturn made. So I'll take it back to the aspect, which was yeah, Moon trine Saturn. Moon trine Saturn. So what this simply means is that October 14th, which is a Friday, as you can see on top here, was going to be more of bullish, or we're going to see some buys on that particular day. So I'll head to that day, which was just the day after, right? So quite right, the day closed down. However, it was a buy day, right? It was a buy day. So remember what I said last time is that even though it's a buy day, the key would be to find the low of the day and buy it from there. If it's a buy day, it's okay for the day to close down. It is okay for the day to close down. Moreover, the trend, the longer term trend was down in this particular since it should be October, right? The general trend was down since October. So it's okay for the day to close down, right? But what an aspect simply means is that if it's going to be a buy day, the best issue is to look for a very good low where you can buy, or a very good support, and then you can buy the market. So for now, just know that that transit was going to cause a buy on that particular day. Now I'll keep moving it forward. So I've got Friday, so I'm going to keep moving it forward. Saturday, the markets are closed, the gold markets are closed. However, we had Saturn 135 degrees aspect here on a Saturday, so we're going to continue moving. On a Sunday, there was no aspect. Okay, so on a Sunday there was no aspect, but we see on Monday they shoot those in conjunction, the moon with the moon rather. Okay, so it did happen. It was in conjunction with the moon. So in conjunction with the moon, simply remember what I said. And in conjunction, I'm not yet certain as into whether it's supposed to be buy or a sell, but the issue is that it should be generally a sell, right? It's a really bad aspect, but of course that day is when it cause a buy, would cause a buy. However, it should be causing sales mostly. So on Monday, October 17th, we should have seen some sales, pretty good sales. So right, so and this is our Monday. On the 17th, we should have seen some pretty good sales, yes. So again, what I'll emphasize again is that that aspect simply means that we need to find a very good top, a very good high to sell from. So we sell from that high, and of course the other Friday when we had a trine aspect to Saturn, we should have been looking for a good low where we can buy from, right? So the in conjunction simply means that okay, we should be looking for sales. We should be looking for sales. So we find a very good high and we sell from there. That's what those aspects simply mean, right? So okay, I'm looking for one where there was a day that there was no transit. So on Monday, so I'm going to keep moving it forward. So Tuesday, yeah. Okay, so Tuesday just went ahead without any transit uh, of our prime same factor Saturn. So this is a very good last example. I need you to pay attention. The last time we saw a transit was the moon on Monday, October 17th, right? Here. This October 17th with Saturn, moon in conjunction, right? Which was supposed to basically cause a cell. Now, Tuesday went without a cell. Tuesday went without without a cell or a buy, without a transit rather, without a transit of the moon of Saturn. So I'm going to keep moving it forward. So on Wednesday, we're looking for Saturn aspect. Okay, so Saturn makes an exact aspect rather with the moon. So it simply means that between Wednesday when we have got an opposite and Monday when we have an in conjunction, right? The next aspect that was going to happen was going to be an opposite on Wednesday, right? So if a simple way of doing this is to simply say what day is in between um, what day is in between 17th and 19th of October. What day is in between 17th and 19th of October? The answer is 18th. So 18th was going to be influenced by the next or coming aspect, which in our case is the one that happened on the 19th. So in short, on a Tuesday, we're going to have a sell because of the next aspect, which is going to happen on Wednesday, which is Saturn opposite Moon. So in short, on Tuesday, we needed to, there was no aspect. However, the next aspect was going to cause the movement in the market. So an opposite of Saturn to the Moon was going to cause on a Tuesday, while there was no aspect, a sell as well. So in short, what we needed to look for is a high to sell from. So I'll go back to my chart and okay. So I'll go back to my chart on the 18th again. What I'm simply saying is that we are looking for a high and then to sell from, and then there it is. I've got a high to sell from, and then the market sells. So every aspect that we're considering is always has to do with either a high or a low. So if we're talking about a sell day due to an opposite, the right question to ask is where where are we likely to have a high? So where are we likely to have a high? And that's where you sell from, generally speaking. If we're going to have a buy on, where are we likely to have a low? Where are we likely to have a low? And then we can buy from there. Yeah. So having said that, I'll need to give one last point. If let's say the aspect happened on the 17th, one aspect happened on the 17th, right? And then the next aspect happened on the 20th, right? I'm just assuming such cases happen. So this is October, right? October 20th, which is a Thursday, right? Right, and we've got October 17th. So the day between these two is, right? Of course, it's going to be 18. If you add up 17 plus 20, it gives you 37. 37 divided by 2 gives you 18.5. So a day, we don't really take days with a half. So what this simply means is that it's a 19th, right? So what this simply means is that, and this is a hypothetical, it does happen. It's not always that it's going to happen like in our case, where on a Wednesday on the 19th there was an aspect, and then a Tuesday was skipped, there was no aspect, and then Monday we had an aspect, and then the midday is Tuesday. A very good exact midday. So whenever we don't have a midday rather happens to be a 18 point or a day and a half, what we do is that we round it off to the nearest whole number, which is the following day, which is 19th, right? So 19. So it simply means that we have got 18th here with nothing, right? So I've got an aspect on 17th, 18th we have got nothing, and then the 19th we'll assume the aspect of 20th. So the 19th will assume the aspect of the 20th, and then the 20th again we've got an aspect. So what this simply means is that the day when we don't have a midday, right, and there's no aspect, such a day, like everything, what you do is that you're going to go to your chart, go on that particular day. So we're going to go to 18th. This is just an example. This is just an example, right? But you'll find that there are cases like this that will happen. It's not everything that will be exact. So I'll give an example of the same 18th, and then I'll go to midnight, right? And then I'll look up that chart, right? And then I'll take back my aspects, my aspect list to an orbit of 5. So I'll take them back to an orbit of 5, right? So on that day, this is just an example. On that day where we have got 17th, for example, October, we have an aspect, and with another aspect. The next aspect happens on the 20th of October, meaning that the midday is about 18 on the 18th and a half a day, which we don't have 18 and a half days, so we're going to take it to the 19th, meaning that 18th is left with nothing, right? So midday, the midday between aspect on the 17th and the aspect on the 20th is 19th, right? So the 19th is going to take up the aspect of 20th. What happens then on the 18th? What we do in that case is just simply draw up the chart for the same 18th at midnight, right? At midnight. And then have your normal settings, which is an orbit of 5. Yeah. And then what you do is that you're going to look for the list of the negative aspects, a list of the negative orbits, rather, a list of the negative orbits of the prime sign factor, in this case Saturn, right? So we have got Saturn here, square Uranus with a 48 minutes, and then we have Jupiter here, semi-square Saturn, of course, with a negative orbit of 2 degrees. Then we have Saturn sextile midheaven with a negative 4 degrees, and we've got Saturn here down with Venus trine 4 degrees. So this is too big, considering that we've got a minute, negative orbit of a minute, like in this case of Saturn square Uranus, and then we have got the aspect to the midheaven. We just leave it out since we have got aspect with the planet, other planet, or Saturn has got aspect to other planet. So the one with Jupiter semi-square Saturn -2 orbit is bigger than the 48 minutes. So I'm going to cancel the semi-square, and what we're going to simply be left with is Saturn square Uranus with 0 degrees 48 minutes. So in such a case, it simply means that on the 18th, where the 18th was neither a midday and didn't have any aspect, the least aspect of the negative orbit, right, of the prime sign factor, which is Saturn in our case, was going to cause the movement on that particular day. So like Saturn square Uranus, for example, with a negative orbit of 0 degrees 48 minutes was going to cause a pi, or a cell, sorry, since square is 90 degrees and it's bad, so it's going to cause a cell. So this wraps up daily fluctuations. So um, uh, that was all about the middays between two aspects. And what happens when you don't have when you have a midday and two aspects, but there's a day that doesn't fit to be called a midday? What do? You simply draw up the chart at 24 or at midnight for that particular day, and then look for the prime sign factor as well, and the aspect that has got least negative orbit, right? And that will tell you whether it's going to be buy or a sell. So having said this, the next video will be on eclipses. So also open eclipses or on eclipses. So please do look forward to the next video. We're going to be looking at eclipses and how they affect the markets. So having said all this, it's bye bye from me now, and then we'll see you in the next